Right, can we fix this horrific Breakpoint rifle set? So I've been messing around with a few ideas on how we could potentially fix the Breakpoint rifle set that was shown in the PTS, because it is just that god-awful. There really is minimal to no point it even existing. It's actually kind of embarrassing. So I've been running around with just playing with numbers and trying to figure out a few ways in which I could potentially fix it. And to be perfectly honest, there's not actually a real clear-cut, clean way. I mean, there's a lot better ways than what the devs did, don't get me wrong. But there's not really a clear-cut way in order to actually make rifles stand out. Now, I'd like to bring up, I'm not going to highlight them, but I had a lot of people in the video I did previously saying that rifles are just bad. Like, who wants a rifle set? Rifles are like the worst weapons in the... Who told you this? Like, seriously, who told you that rifles are the worst weapons in the game? Like, in terms of overall point-blank performance at base, rifles are the best weapons in the game. Like, easily the best weapons in the game. They've got pretty good accuracy and stability, especially within the M1A series. They've got amazing range. They are able to utilize some serious talents, such as Boomerang, Rifleman, Lucky Shot, and now, obviously, someone's going to mention it, Determined, if you like cheating. My own personal opinion, I'll hear nothing of it. Like, and just in overall terms of like burst and sustained DPS, they outperform basically every AR, like easily outperform every AR. Apart from like a few standout craziness, such as like Ouroboros, the L86 and the RPK, Sleep Near at full buff. Yeah, they basically beat every weapon. Rifles are very strong. So what's the problem with rifles? Well, they're not strong enough to keep up with an AR on strikers. They're not strong enough to keep up with an AR or LMG on Heartbreaker, and they're certainly not strong enough to keep up with Banshee, Vector, or Ouroboros on either strikers or even Heartbreaker. They're just not that strong. So we essentially need to give the rifles a gear set that puts them back in that running. And apart from just doing absolutely craziness with stacking, there's not really a lot of options. Anyway, like I said, I started playing around with a few of the numbers to try and figure it out. On average, most rifles are about 10 to 12% higher than the average AR. So they are actually quite more powerful. So all I've done is I've got your standard strikers build and mathed it out, and I've just played around with the Breakpoint set, which is breaking my soul, to see at what point and what we can add into it to potentially get that 10 to 15% over strikers. And then we've got to figure out the chest and backpack talents to ensure that potentially as well that is 10 to 15-ish% over strikers, chest and backpack with something like St. Elmo's. I hate my life. So, I'd like to introduce to you Breakpoint, but not Dead on Arrival. Our two-piece bonus is going to be 25% rifle damage and 25% pistol. Because, seriously, MMR and rifle, oh wow, that's the trope that's been done like a million times before. Can we move on with our lives, please? Give us something different. And for the three-piece bonus, I present to you 30% headshot damage and 15% critical hit chance. Why is this a thing? Well, the argument for rifles for God knows how long has been headshot or crit. Headshot or crit. Do we want to go rifleman or boomerang? And I'm kind of in the boat now of who cares, fuck it, go both. And I don't want to stack too much into the whole crit chance, although I am tempted. We have multiple pieces that give headshot, at least quite early on. We basically have one piece that gives crit early on, and I'm looking at you, Cheska. So I am kind of tempted to say these two should be flipped. 30% crit chance, because fuck it. and go for the 15% headshot, and then just be like, everyone can just slam on Boomerang with a headshot build. Still, headshot crit I feel like it's going to be a good way to go here, and it also allows us to think a little bit outside the box and get a weird like mechanical situation going on, which I would like to actually really impress upon people with the 4-piece, and this could work out really entertaining. And I've already figured out a few ways with this where it could literally decimate the meta. I say decimate. I don't mean like it's going to destroy it. I mean it's just sort of like going to be, it will fit into a lot of best in slot scenarios quite nicely, to a point of where, oh, the best in slot scenario here was strikers, but we could also potentially run this build, and depending on your accuracy and how you perform, it will actually do better. It will also depend on what weapon you want to use and how quickly you can stack it up, because I've also taken a little bit of inspiration from the original stacking mechanic that was in the original Breakpoint thing, being stacks don't apply for the first magazine, and as you build up stacks, they are then applied on reload. But the one thing I absolutely was certain to get rid of is while the stacks are applied, you can still now, hopefully, gain stacks. I hope we're ready for this, so let's just crack on. Landing a shot will grant 1 stack. If that shot is a crit, you get 2 stacks. If that shot is a headshot, you get 3 stacks. And if that shot is a headshot crit, you get 4 stacks. All 4 of them. Lovely. However, we still have a maximum stack gain of 30, and this is just purely for balance. And it also means if you want to go for whatever build, blah, easily should be able to at least get a decent hefty amount of stacks per weapon, no matter how you actually want to build it. Thought about it. Promise. And I know for a fact some of you are going to go, oh, but like the 1886, the maximum magazine is 5. Even if we get a headshot crit for every shot, that's still only 20 stacks. I hear you, just wait. Just wait. Promise. Reloading applies to stacks. Each stack is 1% weapon handling and 2% amp. So at a max of 30, that is 30% handling and 60% amplified damage. Stacks last until you reload. That's like a caveat point. Reloading will apply the new stacks as a gain on top of the previous one to a maximum of 30. So yes, you can get to 20 with something like an 1886, blah, but as long as you then reload, you'll get to get your previous 20 and then whatever you get the next time around, up to a maximum of 30 stacks. There are going to be pros and cons depending on the rifle you use, as the same with every single set in the game. Yeah, like I said, it's really hard to justify because we've got some rifles like the lightweight M4 and others like the 1886. It becomes a problem. Like I said, trying to find an actual balance is a lot harder than apparently I originally anticipated, hence why I am not a game dev. Swapping away from the stacking weapon will just, your stacks just disappear into the ether. Sorry, not sorry. Right, on to what I would like to refer to as the fun part. And that would be the backpack and the chest talents. So, backpack increases the max stacks to 40 and also grants us 15% magazine size. This is going to be very handy for those weapons like the 1886. It kind of means you will have to run the backpack, but you also get a lot more benefit from it, especially considering we can now overstack through use of just the 4-piece. For the chest talent, critical headshots refill the magazine. If you get one of those lovely RNG crits, congrats, magazine is now refilled. Add that to your 1886. Might not be the thing, and we get another 10% armor on kill, just because why not? Now, I would like to add into this somewhere the caveat that this set will literally do nothing if you run determined. Like, I kind of feel like somewhere I need to like put it in that like, if for every shot with determined you apply the damage to yourself. Like, I feel like that would be funny, because this set really is going to be of the benefit of people that can actively play the game and utilize it, not just sit there and go determined. So I would like to add like a caveat in somewhere personally that like if you get your first shot without determined, great, that's fine, but the moment you hit something with determined active, that damage applies to you. Yeah, I feel like that would be funny personally, but still. And just in case we're wondering, if we apply the stats for this build into a calculator, top build being the Striker St. Elmo, the middle build which says LWM4, lightweight M4. This is with just 4 pieces, and then we're using like a Chesker and Grupo chest with Obliterate and Vigilance. We're about 5% more on body DPS, but a good chunk more on headshot DPS, because obviously rifles have higher intrinsic headshot anyway, and we also do have a higher headshot calculation. And then if we run the backpack, which is the TWD at the bottom one, this is running the backpack for what I've proposed, and we're running a perfect focus chest, or is it normal focus? I can't quite remember. But this is quite a bit more. But again, this is also implying that everything is at maximum stacks all of the time. One thing to take into account is the stacking from strikers is going to be a lot quicker, more immediate effect, but the eventual stacks you would get from the rifle build is sort of like it's a slow build up, but once you're there, hold on, Sonny Jim, because you're hitting friggin' tactical nukes kind of thing. At least that's how I personally feel rifles should feel. Although this would be usable with all rifles, it will still be slightly better off with weapons that have a larger magazine, simply just because you're going to be able to stack quicker. Although the maximum stack is 30, I went for 30 in thinking that this would be achievable for all rifles, but not too overpowered in the sense of like the lightweight M4 coming in with like a 50 round mag. Like, great, you're still going to miss a few shots kind of thing. Anyway, that's my proposal for the new Breakpoint set. I'm not saying this is absolutely better than what can be done. I'm sure there's people doing some wondrous ideas and whatnot around it, but this is certainly better than what is currently actually being presented in the PTS. I don't know what they're going to do. This is just my idea. It's probably a little bit too overtuned, but it certainly will put rifles back on the map, and I would actually be interested to play something like this. I gave it a lot of thought. This video's actually taken me quite a while, simply just because I've been sat there mathing out like a 50,000 different things and trying to feel like my original idea for rifles was like way too overpowered as soon as you added something like Ravenous to it, which was a problem. So I needed to like tone it down to a point of where Ravenous wouldn't wipe the map, but at the same time the 1886 fanboys can actually get something out of it. I also wanted to make sure that we didn't end up going down the whole headhunter trope, which is why I feel I've put a pretty worthwhile, decent-ish, slightly awesome talent on the chest. The headshot crits, refilling the magazine. So this means you could build for riflemen to get even more headshot out of it, hitting those headshot crits with a 60% crit chance, and effectively have potentially an infinite magazine while getting another 10% armor on kill, especially if you did take the specialization for sharpshooter. You could also take gunner and get 20% armor on kill. Like, yeah, and then obviously the backpack for increased stack amount, as well as a little bit more magazine size, potentially helping out some of the lower mag weapons. And obviously this still leaves like enough room for something like Fox's Prayer or Punch Drunk, because you know it's a rifle pistol build. Could also incorporate something along the lines of Headhunter and use Regulus with this thing. It would be a bit wafty. I'm not sure how the amplified damage should be calculated with the explosion, or if it even should be calculated with the explosion, but it could be interesting. Running it with Regulus, it would work perfectly well on a lot of pistols. It would actually allow quite a lot of pistols to actually get up there. Don't get me wrong, this is the problem with these sorts of gear sets, is a lot of the gear sets really do help and bolster a select few weapons, just because those weapons are just going to be that much more powerful. there's no way around it at this point. Like I said when first trying to figure this out with the rifles, no matter what I tried, the Ravenous ended up just destroying all of the equations. This is the only one where Ravenous is still very, very strong on this set, but it's not to a point of where it could one-shot the entire game by itself, solo, while giving you immortality. So putting Regulus on this is still going to be absolutely busted, but then putting Regulus on anything is absolutely busted. The idea behind this would be, if you really, really wanted to use a different pistol, you could, and it would perform pretty damn well, especially those with a higher fire rate, small reload time, and a good magazine. The card would be really good on this, and if you go for the card TDI, you get a free skill tier. Hoorah! Like, at least that's like the route I was trying to go down. I'm not sure if it worked. Anyway, in the meantime, have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.